Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Everything is Bad new Fangled motion picture show.
Welcome, one and all, to another episode of the Everything is Bad newfangled motion picture show. Once again, I am Niall.
And I'm Nolan.
And we're going to be doing a review today of the movie Ad Astra. And so, before we get into that, a bit of housekeeping. We're going to do a spoiler-free review, which is what we always do. And then give you a spoiler warning, and then go more in-depth into the movie after that.
And all the spoilers we can come up with.
Yeah. So I feel like this one's going to be a short one. Because, and this isn't a spoiler, but, I mean, so the movie's over 2 hours long, but not a whole lot happens. It's a very slow burn movie, and I've seen that from, like, pretty much every other people.
Yeah, the way I described it is 2001 meets Apocalypse Now.
Yeah. Well, I described it as 2001 meets Old Man of the Sea.
Yeah,
it's definitely a very, like, Stanley Kubrick pacing.
Yeah.
And when
I say Apocalypse Now, I just mean the basic plot of
there's
a crazy guy out in the middle of nowhere and we need to go find him.
Yeah.
This time he's out in space, but
yeah. So when I say this movie has the pacing of a Kubrick movie, that's not necessarily a good thing. Stanley Kubrick
he always takes his time to do it.
Yeah, what I like to say is he takes a long time to get there. There's exactly one Stanley Kubrick movie I'm willing to rewatch. I think you can guess which one it is.
Dr. Strangelove?
Oh yeah. But yeah, this movie definitely it feels like an homage. It's just this real slow burn. And I mean, the story gets there.
The thing is because of the sort of themes they're dealing with, it kind of needs to be slow.
Oh yeah. So this movie,
like the slow pace actually is it kind of works in its favor because of the themes they're dealing with.
Yeah,
and we can get into that in the spoiler section, but just be prepared. It's not an action-filled movie.
No,
certainly there are a couple set pieces that are action scenes,
very briefly,
but they're brief and there's a lot of time in between.
I think the biggest action sequence in the movie, which is in the trailer, so I don't mind saying it, is when he get the space. Turns out it's a space antenna. I thought it would have been a space elevator because that seems much more useful to me, especially when you have a colony on the moon.
Maybe it's both.
Well, they sure as hell took a rocket from Cape Canaveral or something to get to the moon.
That's true.
But anyway, so yeah, he gets blown off of the thing and tumbles through space and atmosphere, and that's in the trailer. That's like one of the first things they show in the trailer. So, and that's sort of that's the event that sort of sets everything in motion for Brad Pitt to go on this journey. So yeah, in case you haven't seen the trailer, Brad Pitt's an astronaut in the United States Army Space Command.
Yes.
And he's
which is weird. You'd think the Air Force would be, if it was going to be not its own branch but attached to an existing branch, you'd think it'd be Air Force.
You would think. So he's a major, and he's like the most badass astronaut they've ever had because he's super emotionally detached and like walled off from everything, and nothing rattles him. And like they have to do these psyche evals throughout the movie on the astronauts. Like Space Command won't let them launch into space unless they pass a psyche eval. And it's like it asks them like, "Oh, how are you feeling? What happened today? How do you feel? How does that make you feel?" And it like reads their heart rates and whatnot and determines if they're fit to go into space. And so Brad Pitt's a badass, and so gets involved in this mission for the Space Command to go after his dad, who had led a long-range mission to go to the edge of the solar system to look for Can we say? Is it a spoiler to say what they're out there researching?
They're looking for extraterrestrial life.
Yeah, they're looking for intelligent life out there. And that's pretty much all covered in the movie, or in the trailer rather. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the movie is a like introspective Brad Pitt analyzing himself and like he asking like why do these events that should shake me, I feel nothing about them. They don't make me feel anything. And it's a very like, you know,
The movie deals with isolationism and like the way that affects the human psyche, being away in the middle and like in a claustrophobic environment for long periods of time. And so by that nature, the movie has to kind of be slow paced. So you get a sense of that long time by themselves or in isolated places.
I think the sequence on the moon might be a longer action sequence.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it. But yeah, there's like the sound design is pretty good in this movie because it's space and they emphasize the silence a lot because it does help reinforce that sense of aloneness that they're going for.
The effects are really good and they do the weightlessness pretty well.
Yep.
I don't know if they used wires or if they did the trick like they did for Apollo 13 where they just did a lot of shooting in that airplane that does the dive so they get the
right.
I don't know if that's what they did in Apollo 13.
What did they do in Interstellar? Was there weightlessness scenes in Interstellar? I don't even remember. It's been I just haven't seen that movie since it was in theater.
Not many. I think they wound up strapping themselves in a lot of the time in Interstellar.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
But anyway, so that's spoiler free as we can get on Ad Astra.
Yeah, one of the things about it though, it's in IMAX and it doesn't necessarily need to be seen in IMAX.
Don't pay for the IMAX ticket.
Because unlike Interstellar, which had these big, sweeping, beautiful shots of
black holes
and
wormhole travel
and all this stuff, space is basically almost always empty in this movie.
Because, as it turns out,
right,
space is really big.
But again, there's like these they're isolated out there. They're trying to emphasize that. So
so it's usually
there's
just
like
a
these
black
long.
star field.
There's like a black star field. There's a lot of long shots of the spacecraft. Various spacecraft
being apparently stationary.
Yeah, it's not something that's like you're gonna gain a lot from. Otherwise, there's a lot of claustrophobic environments, and so you're not gonna really gain anything from seeing it in IMAX. I noticed it's just rating slightly better than Rambo on IMDb.
I think this movie deserves the 7.2 that IMDb is giving it.
Rambo is overrated on IMDb, but this is 7.2. Movie's definitely not for everyone. Some people like it, and I think you got to be patient with the movie though.
It's a pretty cerebral movie.
Yeah.
So spoiler?
Yeah, spoiler.
Spoiler warning henceforth. Yeah, so basically what the whole thing that happens is that when the crew of the spaceship being led by Tommy Lee Jones, who is Brad Pitt's father, they get out to the edge of the
Isn't he McBride or something?
Yeah. McBride's the last name, yeah. Anyway, they get out to the edge of the heliosphere and they collect a whole bunch of data unmolested by the sun's radiation at that distance. And they're
orbiting Neptune.
Yeah. They find many planets that would be apparently life supporting, right? And they find zero signs of life. Which part of me is like, well, I mean, come on. You know, how old was the Earth when humans finally came along? And how old is the light that's getting to us from these other planets, right?
Yeah.
But whatever. So the crew basically gets really depressed and says, let's go home. This sucks. Let's leave. And Tommy Lee Jones goes all like Ahab on everyone. And he's like, no, we need to stay out here. and continue the research. And
he's obsessed over finding extraterrestrial life.
Yeah, and so he claims there's a mutiny. I kind of question if it was actually a mutiny or just a bunch of people that disagreed with him.
Yeah, so he kills them all.
He kills the whole crew.
He traps
decompresses them.
He traps them in a section of this,
or it removes life support.
Yeah,
I don't know if he decompressed them or if just stop filtering the air or whatever.
So, what was the purpose of the radiation or the signals that were damaging the? Was that an attempt to make contact?
Yeah. So the crew, since the communications were cut off, the crew couldn't send a signal out saying that Tommy Lee Jones is insane, and so they messed with the antimatter reactor, which it did something
some sort of pseudoscience.
It reacted with some particles in Neptune's atmosphere that sent a radiation pulse out from the planet, which got stronger as it got closer to Earth. And I'm sitting there going, well, I remember physics.
That's not possible.
I remember physics class from college, and that's not how that works. But whatever. And it hits Earth and causes like surges and shorts and messes with electronics. Causes some explosions, which seems like poor design on the space antenna
You
thing.
think you'd ruggedize your space electronics?
Because as it turns out, there's a lot of just random radiation in space.
If that pulse, you think a solar flare could do something like that.
And so it messes up things on the Earth real bad. A bunch of people die, presumably from like hospitals losing power, I guess.
Or random explosions.
Yeah. And so that's when Space Command gets Brad Pitt and they're like, we're sending you to Mars because we lost our long range communications, and we're gonna have you send a tight beam laser transmission to where we think Tommy Lee Jones's ship is. And so he's basically saying like, hey, Space Command's aware that something happened and they want to help. Just let us know where you're at. We can come get you. Doesn't get a response. So Space Command's like, oh, we're going to send a nuke to go blow it up.
Well, they do get a response, but they won't tell him what the response is.
Oh, yeah, they won't tell him what the response is. So they said they...
He finds out that they're going to go blow it up. Ruth Negga plays some person in charge of this colony, this Mars colony.
Yeah, she's like a deputy administrator or something like that.
Right, and so she helps them get aboard the ship going out there.
She should be in more things.
Yeah. You might know her from Preacher.
Yep.
Or the Warcraft movie.
Yep.
So anyway,
yeah, so it turns out... good movie.
Yeah, the Warcraft movie, yeah.
Did we review that movie?
No, that was before we started doing this.
Okay.
That movie, I think, it had its problems, but I think it deserved a sequel.
Yep. So anyway.
Yeah. That's TLDR, our review of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he gets a hold of the message, and that's where we find out about the supposed mutiny and how he killed everyone. But he gets to their ship. He finds them, and Tommy Lee Jones basically won't leave. He basically just kills himself. Like he said. He
kills himself in a similar way as that dude in Space Cowboys.
Yeah.
Just launches himself. I mean, that guy went to the moon, but still.
Yeah, he just like launched himself off into space to drift off until he died. Brad Pitt makes it back to Earth.
Smashed in the visor by a rock in the surprisingly thin rings of Neptune.
Yeah, I'm no astrophysicist. I'm pretty sure the rings of Neptune are more than like
a few hundred feet.
A few feet thick. Yeah. And then Brad Pitt goes back home to reunite with his wife, played by Liv Tyler. I don't think she even had any lines in the movie.
She did. She had a couple.
Oh, remember, no, there was there's a recording of her,
she had
right?
Those videos.
Those videos recording her, but yeah, not much. There she is. Yeah. First, he has to go from Earth to the moon, and then from the moon to Mars. And yeah. But once he gets to the moon, he has to travel across the surface to the dark side so they can launch him from the right side of the moon towards Mars, because that's the side that's going to be facing Mars, and it's also supposed to be like a secret launch or something. I don't know.
No, it's not a secret launch. It's a secret that he's on the ship.
Yeah.
I believe. And there's pirates on the moon, which that sequence was cool. Because the moon is like Antarctica, like no one can own it.
Yeah.
And so some country, they didn't say who, but some country is giving safe haven to pirates.
It's probably China and Russia.
Nyar, probably. Who are stealing resources that are trying to traverse the moon.
Presumably, my guess is they traverse the moon because they have to like move them from where they land to the launch towards the Mars colony.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
Also, Donald Sutherland is in this movie, and that's cool. Donald Sutherland's great. I'm not convinced that someone with as much of a lazy eye as Donald Sutherland has would be allowed to go to space.
Also, his character clearly has a heart condition.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, maybe with the heart condition thing, he probably didn't always have a heart condition, and maybe they're making an exception for that mission because it was so important.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, they let him go to space in Space Cowboys, so...
Yeah. Donald Sutherland improves just about every movie he's in. So...
Hit some negative waves at the end, though. That was...
It's a Kelly's Heroes reference for you.
Yeah, so, otherwise, the movie's... Alright, so
right.
the movie's alright. I enjoyed it.
This movie's decidedly not for everyone.
Not for everyone. If you can be patient with a movie... and you can sit through a Kubrick movie, then you'll be fine.
Yeah. So
I thought the visual effects were really good.
Yep.
And the sound design was really good.
Yep.
And the cast is pretty good.
The sound design was really good, but it's all stuff that Interstellar basically already wrote the book on. Like, here's how you do space movie sound design.
Yeah.
Oh, and I was telling Nolan that I'm convinced that this like isolation leading to insanity thing, I'm convinced that if we get to a point in space travel where that's like a common concern, that we would refer to it as Major Tom disorder or Major Tom syndrome or something like that. Yeah, I guess it'd be a syndrome, because I mean that's Space Oddity. So,
can you hear me, Major Tom?
Exactly. But I also that Ren and Stimpy episode kept going through my mind. Space Madness. This is my ice cream bar. Yeah, that kept going through my mind as well.
Space Madness.
And the shiny red button that destroys the universe or whatever.
Yep.
So yeah, I'd say check it out. There's not going to be anything in theater for a couple weeks anyway, so. Yeah, so I think that ends our review on Astra. So the next movie we're gonna review, we by the time this comes out, we will have just posted a review of Rambo: Last Blood. So go check that out. Our next one after this is Joker.
Yeah.
Yeah, we start getting towards the holiday movie season as we get through October and November. Probably going to see Gemini Man. We got Maleficent, Zombieland, and Jojo Rabbit all on the same weekend. And maybe this The Lighthouse movie?
Depends on where it's playing. I feel it's going to be a limited release.
It's an A24 movie, so you know it's going to be super art house. And it's got Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson in it. And that's basically it.
It looks kind of Lovecraftian.
Yeah. So yeah, and then November really starts cranking it up. So we got Terminator and Motherless Brooklyn and Midway. I'm I'm not real interested in Doctor Sleep. Not a huge fan of The Shining.
Speaking of Kubrick movies.
Yeah. Ford versus Ferrari looks pretty great. Probably going to see Frozen 2 because everyone's going to see Frozen 2 and Knives Out. And Star Wars is sometime in December.
Frozen 2 listed there? There's... Go back up.
No.
Oh, no. I just saw the Lodge poster go by, and I thought that was a Frozen poster.
They're clearly taking advantage of the graphic design of the Frozen 2 teaser poster. And then we got Jumanji, Star Wars, 1917 in December. Nolan's real excited to see Cats.
Yeah.
Nolan's
sure am.
Most looking forward to Cats above anything else in 2019. So that's what we got coming up. So if any of that is of interest to you, hit that bell button thing by the subscribe button. Or the subscribe button. Like the video. Dislike the video if you're like, man, Ad Astra was great. And it's pretty good review isn't good enough. You hit that dislike button. And argue with me. It's fine. And, so, yeah. Until anything to add, Nolan?
Nah.
No. Alright. So until next time, thanks for listening.
Bye.
Toodles.